Hello, Phoenix here. Tuning in live behind the mask. Um, for those of you who this may be, first time tuning in, my name is Phoenix, and this is my personal social experiment called Behind the Mask to really begin training, permitting myself to show up unapologetically behind the mask, raw, unedited, because there's something really magical that happens when I let myself do that. Yeah, and I want to practice doing that more and more. So I've been doing these weekly shows to support me in doing that, oftentimes on my own, sometimes with guests, always available, always welcoming to people who want to come and share vulnerably. Yeah, my intention is to really support our vulnerability to have a place, a really strong place in our lives, a really welcoming space for whatever is alive and present without needing to know where it goes or how it goes. So here I go. So last week I didn't do it. I didn't do my show last week because I was having a lot of fun. And I actually forgot until it was the end of the day, and then I couldn't really be bothered doing it, to be honest. I went on a little escapade up the coast to the northern rivers for a beautiful brother's birthday party. Exquisite community gathering. I feel really, really blessed that I made the choice to go. Really grateful to that part inside of myself that kicked me out of my little nest. Though here I am back in Melbourne, just returned yesterday, back in my nest. And I want to talk about expansion and contraction, because I feel like this has been what I've been experiencing over this past 10 days since I kind of flew the coop last week. For those of you who know me or have been kind of witnessing me, I've been in a pretty deep a space of unraveling, a kind of dark cocoon, sometimes quite abyss-like. Though over the past couple of weeks, especially kind of hitting the 1 year mark of my dad's passing, I feel like there's been a real readiness to emerge from the cocoon, and it's been a slow journey, and that's definitely what I've been reflecting on over these past couple of weeks. It's like this desire to come out of the cocoon. It's not something that happens instantaneously. It's like if we witness nature, nothing just kind of opens right away. It's a slow process of becoming. And because I'm nature, I've been following that same natural process as well. And yeah, I would say over these past couple of weeks, it's been a kind of gearing up towards emergence, because I had this sense inside of myself that this 1 year container, since my father's passing, was my container to really dive in to the depths and give myself full permission for 1 year to just let it all unravel and transform me. And so the last Behind the Mask I did was probably right before I left. I wasn't just at that 1 year mark yet, because I left I left actually before the 1 year anniversary, right after the solstice. My dad's 1 year anniversary was on the 22nd, which is the day I left. I left on that day. I had the solstice here in Melbourne in ceremony with my family, my friends here, and then on the 22nd, day after solstice, I packed up my housemate Stacey's car and got on the road, and drove up north and made it in 2 days, about 1,500 kilometers, maybe more. I don't know. Um, though, yeah, that sense of like totally coming out. And for those of you who know me, I really thrive on living a mythic reality. I really love working with archetypes and I love working with myth. It just really gives my psyche something to lean into. I enjoy and appreciate working with the more than human realms, and leaning into that makes life more interesting. And so here in the southern hemisphere where I live, coming out of the darkest day of the year, so getting in the car that next morning, I literally left at dawn as the sun was rising behind me. And I mentioned in the previous episode that I had just gotten my owl wings completed, that I have had tattooed on my body, which represents this moving through the darkness, moving through the darkness, towards the light, this inner light that guides us forward. So yeah, I got in the car at sunrise, at dawn, with the light coming, driving from darkness into light. And oh, what an amazing road trip it was. It was such an amazing road trip. I feel like that road trip was such a distillation, integration of these past 6 months that I've spent pretty much hunkered down in my nest here. And previous to that, the 6 months I was in the US and traveling up north, to just kind of moving my cocoon around. Though since January, I was really here in Melbourne in my little bush, my little slice of bush in my cocoon. So it was just really exhilarating, kind of gearing up and allowing myself allowing myself to be ready to emerge. And yeah, I had great conversations on the road and got to visit some friends, and then landed in the Northern Rivers in time for this epic winter convergence. So yeah, um, I feel so. This past week up north was such a glimpse of expansion. Like this real full-bodied sense of opening. I really felt so much of my joy return. I haven't felt joy like that in a really long time, and part of me feels really sad saying that, though it is what it is. I feel like I hadn't tasted my joy in such a long time that I forgot it was even a part of me. And I've been really sitting with these past couple of weeks, like leading up to the solstice, like how much of me is actually, I don't want to, addicted, for lack of a better word, addicted to my suffering, or addicted to this unraveling, dissolving process. And maybe it's not an addiction, though I had to kind of look at that, because it's like, I don't know any better. I don't know anything else. I hadn't known much more than being in my grief for the past year. And I really went there. Like I really became my grief. And I really gave myself full permission to meet it with as much of myself and as much as of my love and as much of my kindness and compassion as possible. And I feel really grateful, and I feel really proud of myself for learning how to tend to myself, like lick my wounds and cuddle myself, and really nurse myself back to wellness without abandoning the parts of myself that were needing attention, wanting attention, avoiding or without avoiding or bypassing the parts of me that have been in real grief for so many things. I mean, there's so many reasons to be to feel our grief, especially at this time in our world. Though for me it was very personal. It hit me very personally with the loss of my dad, and the loss of a connection to one of my best friends, two of my best friends actually, at the beginning of this year. So um yeah, leaving Melbourne the day after the solstice was kind of my declaration to the universe. And it's like, okay, I'm going to try something new. I'm going to try something else. I know that I can feel this readiness inside of myself, that it's almost like, yeah, babe, the this particular part of the process is complete. So come out of the nest. So kick, jump, leap, fly, figure out how to use your wings. And so yeah, I did. The first night I got to the Shire, it was a bit overwhelming because I was around so many people, and I hadn't been around so many people in months. So I was feeling quite intimidated and like timid. So I kind of took myself away and went and stayed at another friend's house where I could just, like, have a little contraction time, kind of go into my little cocoon. And then the next day, in time for the party, yeah, I felt a part of myself that I haven't felt ever, to be honest. A real integration of all these different parts of myself that I feel have kind of merged into the whole being that I now am. The tender, vulnerable, timid, kind of wounded parts, and this empowered, fierce, devoted part of myself is really integrated. And that felt really amazing, super expansive, super expansive. I got to be in my element and share ceremony and DJ and be around friends I haven't seen in years. Definitely most of which I haven't seen since pre-COVID, and that's nearly, yeah, over a year. So to be in this space with hundreds of people that I haven't seen, and to actually, how you're going. Yeah, I'm really doing well. First time I could say I'm really doing well in quite a long time, and really mean it. Really feel that from the depths of my being. It was so unfamiliar to me, though rather than trying to make sense of it, I was just like totally owning it. And it was so good. It was so good. So, so extremely wonderful to feel so expanded, like really getting to test out this new version of myself. I feel like the old version of myself has been in a death process over these past few years since my separation 4 years ago, and then with my dad's death. So all these past versions of self, these identities that I had just had to let go of. Not necessarily easy, though essential, to welcome this new version of self, because we're always dying. We're always dying. Old versions of ourselves are always dying, and new versions of ourselves are constantly being born. And how much do we allow that process to happen, and how much do we actually get in the way of allowing these processes to happen because we kind of want to control or grasp on to the olds. And so, yeah, this journey for me this year has been really about just surrendering more and more control, so that I can really allow this deeper intelligence to emerge, just kind of not so different than the caterpillar inside of the cocoon metamorphosing into the butterfly. I mean, we are nature. And so I look to nature as my mirror. Who am I? Oh, I don't know who I am, though I look to nature and I can see these reflections, and it supports my egoic mind that wants to know, to relax and be like, oh, yeah, that's what's happening. So that's why, again, I love archetype. I love myth, because it really supports me to understand what's going on without needing to necessarily understand it from like a fixed perspective. Yeah, and I feel like on Saturday it was this this gathering I was at was such an initiation of this new version of myself. I feel like I got to be in my element and really stand in my strength and in my power and feel really centered and grounded while also really connected and alive and inspired. And that was really, wow, I was so high on that. Um, and and yeah, I even got to have this dance at dawn. I didn't want to go to sleep. I was having so much fun. Usually I'm the one that's kind of like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to sleep and take care of my body. It needs rest, or feeling really timid or overwhelmed and just kind of extract myself. This has been quite normal over these past few years. Though I didn't want to go to sleep, I was having so much fun and I didn't want to go to sleep. I didn't. I stayed up past dawn. The party still was going, and at dawn, the host and the birthday man put on this old school trance set, which was like my heyday. I don't understand sometimes people. It's like music is so nostalgic for us, and 80s music, 90s music, even though I was kind of alive and growing up during that time, it doesn't do it for me. It doesn't have soul for me. Doesn't activate, ignite my soul. Though when he put on the trance from the 2000s, oh my god. Oh, it's just, it was like I got to step into my 20-year-old body again, and it was amazing. 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 I just, like I said, got to step into my 20-year-old body, and my 20-year-old body and my 40-year-old body, they kind of merged into one on the dance floor, and I felt my wings expanding and casting spells on the dance floor, and just really felt like this conversation between me and spirit and me and the trance gods. And oh, just felt all these parts of myself that I've experienced throughout my life, all just kind of getting woven into this one integrated being. And it was an extraordinary experience. Yeah, it was an extraordinary experience. And so I really welcomed that. And then afterwards, after the day, after the night, after the party, there was this kind of like contraction. And that's what I'm really interested in, is like giving myself this permission to expand and contract, expand and contract. And even when I think of this expansion and contraction, it is like the wings of a bird that, in order to fly, we have to open and close. Anything, everything in nature, it's continuously expanding and condensing, or contracting, whatever word you want, whatever word resonates with you. And yeah, part of me, while I was up in the Northern Rivers, for those of you who are familiar with the area, it's such an expansive area that it's like so much beauty and lush, fertile nature, and the colors are just, the greens and the turquoise of the ocean. It's just like so invigorating and so beautiful, and just, yet really, I feel such a sense of expansion inside of myself. And I nearly stayed. I nearly stayed longer, because I could feel myself being like, yeah, I want more of this expansion, more, more, more. Though, life happened, COVID things, COVID drama kind of entered into the space. And I really, yeah, I've got an opportunity to pray this weekend in ceremony, and that's such an important part of my existence, such a huge part of my reality. And this sense inside of myself was that, like, yeah, I'm ready to go back to my nest. After this big week of expansion, there's this part of me that was like, yeah, okay, good. Like, let's go back to our little nest. And I love my nest. I love my nest so much, and I can really feel this impulse inside of me that is calling me out into the world, and I can sense that time is coming. Like I can taste it, I can sense it. There's going to be a lot of movement for me in these next, towards the end of the year. If life here, if life permits, I can sense this movement. And who knows what happens. So this is just my current sense. And so it's almost like, yeah, there's no rush. There's no rush. There's no rush. And that's been a really huge learning for me, to recognize that there's no rush. And that this dance between contracting and condensing is part of the becoming. Yeah, it's like it's what actually creates the reforming of the all that's been dissolved. It's like all the old forms dying, and for the new forms to be reformed, it's it's the sculpting, the contraction and the expansion is actually it's what sculpts the new being that's being formed, that's being born. And so I really want to honor this dance of expansion and condensing, expansion and contracting. Because, like without one, we know we need both. Though again, for the past year, I feel like I've been in such a state of contraction that I almost, oh my gosh, like I just didn't even know. I didn't even know that there was this expansion. Almost like kind of forgot, because I was just so in the, and I don't want to like put the expansion on the pedestal like it's the end all be all, because actually it's both that creates the integration of whole self. And and honoring both the expansion and the contraction as these equal players, these equal partners in this bigger dance that's sculpting who it is we're becoming, I think it's really important. And so, yeah, I'm here back in my nest, allowing for some integration so that the next kind of test flight, I can spread my wings even further, and then it's this titration that I feel in the past I didn't really understand. Titration is kind of giving, like taking little bite-sized pieces, little baby steps, rather than just one leap and bound, which I'm quite used to from the past. And it's definitely a very common, yeah, I feel like it's quite common in our greater collective to just take the leap and expand and explode, which I love. I'm a firecracker. I get it. I love exploding. Though this sense of titrating feels sustainable, feels so much more sustainable. It feels mature, and giving myself this opportunity to titrate the full occupation of the new self, or the full occupation of the next version, the next iteration of self. It feels important to take these baby steps, like one step, yeah, and then coming back in, integrating, processing, grounding, aligning, recalibrating, staying centered. Because I find in the past, this big expansion would often come at the expense of me losing my center. And without being in my center, I'm not fully here, not fully available, not fully present to receive what life is wanting to bring into my field of awareness. And so, what I'm currently experiencing is the need to, like, even though there's this impulse to expand, it's like there's no rush. Just take it one step at a time. Listen for the moment to inhale and occupy more space inside of myself and in the world around me. And also to listen for that time and that invitation to exhale and return inwards. Because I feel like the more I can move from this place of inner stillness, inner knowing, inner, like integration, the more available I will be to the world, the more available I am to be in service to the external. And again, like I already said, the more sustainable the journey is. Because I feel like at this point, with whatever is emerging and whatever is kind of feels to be coming, will require just full presence and being integrated within self so that I can fully meet the external. And that's exciting. Although it's also a bit, I don't know. I don't know. I don't need to know. Yeah. So this dance of inner connectivity, outer expressivity is another way of of relating to this contraction and expansion. This inner connectivity, outer expressivity. It's just continuous dance. Yeah. Yeah, and it's a beautiful dance. It's a beautiful dance. So, those are my thoughts today. And yeah, I don't need to say anything else. Just feeling super grateful for the few days, week, even 2 weeks that I've felt really here, really solid in myself. And I don't know if and when, how long, it's like just not wanting to, I don't want to walk so cautiously, which I feel I've been doing. It's kind of like, oh, when is this going to change? Something bad is about to happen. And maybe, though, I'm here right now, and there's this reclamation of this new part of myself that I haven't felt in a long time, which is joy. And I give myself permission. I give myself permission to be in my joy. And that feels huge. So I'm grateful to the expansion and also to the condensing, because it's such a safe and secure place inside of me to come home to. And the more I can like rely on this safety and security that is inside of me, the more bold and audacious I can be as I take flight. Yeah, yeah. So have a beautiful rest of your day. I will return next week with another episode, unless I don't.